Welcome to another episode of Positive Solutions for Life. This is Peggy Meyer. Today's guest is Renee Greene Murphy. Renee is an award-winning children's book author of Your Heart's Voice and mom of three. Her book helps parents to assist their child to become intuitively aware, to improve their emotional intelligence, to help their child make better choices, and to help them understand and trust their inner voice, all of which can help boost a child's self-esteem. So Renee is here to tell us all about it. So welcome to the podcast, Renee.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you and speak to you about my book and my journals, which I know are helping children all over the world. And I look forward to sharing it on your podcast.
Wow, I am so excited for our conversation because really I feel like I am just learning how to really listen to my own voice. We hear a lot of things from all over, outside of ourselves. And I feel like I'm just starting to learn that. But for you to be able to bring out a book that can help parents and, teachers to help teach kids how to start listening to their voice and their inner voice a little earlier, that could just give them a huge head start. So I'm excited for this. And with that, can you start the conversation by just sharing just a little bit more about you, your journey, and how it has led to where you are today?
I would be happy to. I am a mom, first and foremost. I am a wife. I'm a daughter. I'm a sibling. My book came about in 2018. It was a manuscript. I was a New York State school counselor for 11 years in a charter school in New York City. And I learned before then that there were no children's picture books on intuition. As a counselor, I was very much student centered, always building upon their strengths regarding behavioral problems or being pulled out of the classroom for either disciplinary issues or emotional or social conflicts. And it was then that I noticed there were no children's picture books on intuition. But when I became a mom, shortly before 2018, as a stay-at-home mother, I wanted to do more educationally. I was tired, like many stay-at-home moms, but I was used to being in the school setting. And it was then that I had recalled that I always wanted to write a book. And so I put the pieces together that since there was a void there, that I would be the one to fill it. So I started my manuscript in 2018. And that is when the idea kind of took off. I tucked it away. Life took over. I had my third child shortly after. And we had a tragedy in my family in 2022, 2 years ago. Now we're approaching almost three. My little brother tragically died in a car accident in the town that I live in. And that emotional, devastating blow just flipped us upside down, destroyed us. While having to pick up the pieces and continue on as a mother and daughter and sibling and wife, as I said, I gravitated towards writing. And I remember that I had this manuscript tucked away in my closet. I pulled it out. I would go to the beach every morning and pray and speak to my brother. That is where I felt most connected to him because that's where I find that I ground myself mostly and find myself having a clear mind. And I dedicated the book to him and I decided to finish writing it at the beach on my phone. It was 6 months after the accident, and it was 3 months after that that it was published. And my book is called Your Heart's Voice. I created my book as a visual. So your intuition is a very hard concept for children to understand. It's even difficult for some adults, mind you, to understand. And so I needed to create a visual for children to be able to understand. And so that's why I named it Your Heart's Voice. It is a voice in your heart that often tells you the right thing to do.
Mhm.
And I like to say it's like a muscle. The more we listen to it, the stronger it gets, like a bicep that you're
Mhm.
working out at the gym. And it's the story is about an 11-year-old girl, Jade, that learns that three life lessons throughout the story. I tried to simplify them for
Mhm.
to be life lessons that really any child could relate to. And she learns those three life lessons that when she isn't listening to her heart's voice, she's making the wrong choice, and that when she is, she's making the right choice. And my brother is it's dedicated to him, but he's also the uncle in the story. She draws an angel for him by listening to her heart's voice and gives it to him at the end of the story. And at the end, he laughs when she says she listened to her heart's voice. He says that's actually your intuition. And that's something that we all have. It's a gift and it should be meant to be used to help us make good choices in life and feel better about ourselves. And so that is kind of how the book concludes. So he's also a main character in the story. It's
Oh,
also a way of just continuing on his legacy. It's
yeah.
something that he would love to be attached to because he was so highly confident in himself. He had a lot of talents. And I know in my heart that he would love to be attached to such an important message to help boost children's self-esteem all over the world.
Yeah. And kids just need that. We all need that. And we need to learn that it's okay. It's we all have it, and it's not just something weird. I mean, it's just like it is that voice it tells you what the right thing to do. And if we and how does it come out? I mean, we have to be quiet, don't we? To be able to
Absolutely.
listen.
Absolutely. The first step is to ground yourself and calm your mind. I developed two journals after doing kind of what I say is like a mini book tour around New York. The first year that my book was published, I won 4 awards, the Family Choice Awards twice, the Mom's Choice Awards, and the New York City Big Book Awards. And while I was doing this book tour throughout Long Island and New York, there were many school administrators, librarians, school personnel, parents even that would say, we need to take it a step further. This would be wonderful in the classroom setting to help students. Your book is great. How can we help students develop their intuitive awareness and their emotional intelligence with something hands-on that's more independently used in the classroom? And so that's how I developed your intuition journals. And so they pair with your heart's voice perfectly.
Mhm.
One of the steps in the journal, because it's self-directed, is to find your calm. And so
Mhm.
this one is for ages 5 and 8,
Mhm.
5 through 8, so kindergarten through second grade.
Mhm.
And the younger one is picture based. So when you open it, it says, this
Mhm.
your intuition, this journal belongs to. There's self-directed questions. And so for the little ones who are in
Mhm.
kindergarten who may not be able to read yet, there's pictures to prompt them. I actually developed this with my 5-year-old son who is in kindergarten. So I needed to use language
Mhm.
that he understood, therefore, other uh, 5-year-olds would be able to understand, and then first grade and second grade. So the self directed questions tell you to first think. So ideally, the student is having an issue in the classroom and they've read my book before with the teacher, whether independently or in a group setting. And now they pull out the journal because they're not feeling great socially or emotionally. And so, first think, what are the facts? How do you feel? You see the bubble.
Mhm.
What could go wrong? What could go right? What could you learn from your decision? And then next think. So there's a check and there's an X. What feels like the right decision to make? And so
Mhm.
on this side, try to skew down a
Yep.
little. Your heart's voice feels. And so these emotions, again, I helped
Mhm.
collaborate with my son. And so these are feelings that typical 5, 6, 7-year-olds feel in the classroom or at home: calm, happy, strong, smart, excited, patient, thankful, and great. And then there's pictures to go along with it. So the idea is that by listening to their heart's voice, they feel those emotions.
Mhm.
So for a 5-year-old, they would draw the problem. For a first and second grader, they'd write it. And then they would circle how they feel. They might feel sad, scared, confused, worried, mad, lonely, guilty, or jealous. Next step is to, and this is the most important step, is to find your calm. So we can count to three. See the three hands?
Yep.
We can, how else can we find our calm? We go over this at home, and the teacher would go over it with the student. Is you take a deep breath through your nose and inhale through your nose and then exhale 3 times. That you can tap into your 5 senses. And then you would listen to your heart's voice, and then you would draw a picture of what your heart's voice is telling you to do, or you would write it. And then this goes on and on and on for
Mhm.
66 pages.
Nice.
And this is the lower grade. And then the
Mhm.
upper grade is the same, except it's just written.
Okay.
Um, these journals align with the New York State standards, with which are difficult standards to align with. So I like to say that if you're in another state, then you would likely align just the same.
Mhm.
You could modify it, but they're similar. And then same thing, but just in written. What are the facts? And then here it prompts you find your calm, and then it gives suggestions. What can you do to calm your mind and listen to your heart's voice? For example, take deep breaths, use your 5 senses, or go to a quiet space. A lot of classrooms have a calm corner, a quiet space in their
Mhm.
classroom.
Yep.
They have fidget toys they can squeeze. You can inhale through your nose and exhale 3 times anywhere. So while I venture to the beach to find my calm, students aren't doing that in the classroom, they need to find a way to do that in the classroom or in your home.
Mhm.
You individually need to be able to know what helps regulate your nervous system. And so once you do that, then you would listen to what your heart says. And then they have intuitive words that
Mhm.
describe how you feel once you are listening to your heart's voice. So this also helps with literacy, reading and writing and grammar and punctuation and vocabulary words. So
Mhm.
this isn't just a social emotional decision making tool. It also helps with literacy. And so the idea is that the student can independently tap into their intuition. They can problem solve on their own without having to be removed from the classroom if need be.
Mhm.
Um, and when you're intuitively aware and you are able to boost your self esteem by being intuitively aware and making good choices, it improves academic performance. So it's really a win win in the classroom.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
win win everywhere. But primarily, if we're speaking about schools, it not only helps the student, but it helps the teacher as well to be able
Mhm.
to manage her classroom.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to like, I don't know if the listeners caught that or not, but I'm also involved in the schools. I've had 6 kids in the school system, but also as a board member. You referenced the New York State standards, and we're also a student school counselor, and you put in social emotional stuff. So can you describe like, okay, what are the state standards? You don't have to, I don't expect you to know them, but like just in brief, like the parents that are listening out there, like you aligned these books to state standards. So what does that necessarily mean? And, is it the social emotional part of state stuff that is in there or just
So
technical for you?
we looked at literacy, and then we also looked at the health standards.
Okay.
So the social emotional falls under New York State health standards. Then we looked at kindergarten, since my journals are ages 5 to 8 and then 8 to 12. That's kindergarten through sixth. Most New
Mhm.
York State schools are kindergarten through fifth. So we
Okay.
looked at elementary, and then we looked at intermediate, which is middle school, sixth grade.
Okay.
So we broke it down. I have lesson plans to go along with it,
Oh, okay.
because, as I said, I've been meeting with school administrators in New York.
Mhm.
And so it's like, I've kind of done the work for you. Here's my resources.
Mhm.
Here's the journals for the students. Here's my book for the classroom and for the teacher
Mhm.
or for the school. I've aligned the lesson plans with
Mhm.
New York State literacy and health standards. I found the standards that align with it, that directly relate to my book and my journal. And we developed a 2 to 3 day lesson plan to help the teacher walk through those 2 to 3 days and what that would look like. And obviously, you would modify it based on your class, your grade, your
Mhm.
teacher, the students in your classroom. But as I said, I've kind of done the work for you. I feel so strongly that if you utilize my journals in the classroom, it really not only helps minimize disruption and conflict that may be happening all day long that you may not know about, but in a seamless way, it helps students be able to problem solve, which they need
Mhm.
to know how to do. It's a
Yeah.
life skill to
Yeah.
be able to problem solve, and unfortunately, teachers don't have the time to do that. They are bombarded no matter what state
Yeah.
you're in. Time is of the essence. Every teacher says that. I worked in a school. I know the value of time. Um, you don't want to have to pull the student out unless
Mhm.
it's a serious issue, because now we're losing instruction. That
Mhm.
is also disruptive. So
Mhm.
you want to keep the student in the classroom, but you also want to build upon their strengths and their skills. And as I said, problem solving is a skill. It's not really taught in school. It's may or may not be taught at home, but it's different in the
Mhm.
classroom. And if you ask your children, there's problems that happen all day long. It's not really adhered to and fixed unless it gets big enough, right? And so
Mhm.
children often regress.
Mhm.
They get into their own minds. They don't know what to do. And then now you're dealing with children who are not paying attention. Now their academics are slipping because they're not focused because of the problem that happened at recess or whatever's going on in their mind. And that's where my journals come in. Just pull it out. Um, and write it down. Teachers can collect them at the end of the week, whatever they see fit. They can use positive reinforcements,
Mhm.
stickers. I have my little indigo stickers to go along with it because intuition, that the color is indigo. And so there's a lot of connections with it.
Mhm.
But teachers, have the flexibility of doing what they see
Yeah.
fit. But you
Yeah.
asked what some of the um, standards, there's skills. I have standards. I picked a standard to go with each, but then I also have like secondary ones.
Right.
So there's a kindergarten standard for literacy I can identify. character settings and major events in a story. First grade, I can retell a story using important details that are understanding to
Hmm.
help me identify the main topic. These are literacy. And then second grade would be I can summarize portions of the text using key details to help me identify the main topic or central idea. So again, they're not only we didn't get to the social emotional yet, but they're not only improving their decision making skills, but these are literacy standards that you can kill two birds with one stone. You use it as a writing
Yeah.
and or an ELA
Yeah.
lesson.
Yeah.
And then for the health standard, it's standard number 2 in New York State under health. Students will demonstrate personally and socially responsible behaviors. They will care for and respect themselves and others. They will recognize threats to the environment and offer appropriate strategies to minimize them. So there were only 3 standards to choose from under health. That was the closest fit that I
Hmm.
felt to problem solving and decision making. It's not perfect, but it's good enough.
Hmm.
Um, Students will demonstrate personally and socially responsible behaviors, to me, is a way to set them up for success. And so when we are problem solving, we're setting
Mhm.
ourselves up for success and we're boosting our self esteem. Um, so it's not directly like what you would learn in the health
Right.
class,
Right.
which in New York you don't take until fifth grade, but
Hmm.
it just falls under the umbrella.
Hmm.
Um, and it's so important that students recognize threats to the environment and offer appropriate strategies to minimize them. Think about all the danger in the world. And so we don't have our children by our side all day long, right? I have a sixth grader now in middle school.
Hmm.
She's not hanging out around town. She's still supervised, but pretty soon she's going to be wanting to do things.
Hmm.
Maybe go to the park with her girlfriends. I don't know if your children do that yet, but our children are not always with us. And so we need to be able to set them up for success so that they are having good judgment and they are being able to listen to their intuition that is telling them danger. Don't go by that male or female in the park.
Hmm.
Put your seatbelt on. That
Hmm.
whisper in their voice that they may not want to listen to. They're hungry. They want to make soup, but you told them don't turn on the stove when I leave. I'm going to church. I'm going
Hmm.
to shopping.
Hmm.
Wait for me to get home. You know, going that extra mile and listening to your intuition
Hmm.
is the it's more effort, but you notice that when you do listen to it, you're making the right choice. And so students and children and adults are able to see the cause and effect. When I listen and I'm making the right choice, I'm doing good. I'm feeling
Hmm.
better. When I'm studying for the test that I'm too tired to study for, but then I got the 100, I noticed it works,
Hmm.
and so that is our conscience. And that is why it's so important for children to be able to practice using that muscle, strengthen it, listen to it, because it's here to keep us safe. It's here to align us on the right path to our divine path in life, our own purpose,
Hmm.
to be better people, and then also utilize it like you would anything, especially for our teens and our youth. Share it with your friends, right? Like you do that good song you just listened to on the radio or
Yep.
this cute outfit you bought at the mall, right? Sharing is caring. And
Hmm.
so it needs to be spoken about more than it is. It's
Yeah.
not the boogeyman. It's not scary. Start at a young age. Use my picture book to help children understand it, and then use my journals to help them reinforce it.
Yeah, that's awesome because, society, I mean, one thing that, I hear a lot too is that kids don't know really how to take personal responsibility or, just solve their problems by themselves. And this can really help because that is just what we need to do out in the world is to be able, we're not going to be around our parents, our teachers, our peers, or anybody for very long because most of their life they're out on their own. So we need to establish this early. And it's so great that you have put the work into not only developing this book, but journals that can go along and making sure that it really fits educationally, the purposes that, pretty much everybody needs. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Where can people find out more about you, about this book, how to get a hold of you and say, hey, if I want this in my home, in my schools, how do they get a hold of you?
So you can go to my website, which is my full name, Renee Greene Murphy. There's an E at the end of Green. Everything is on there, my books, my journals, my events, what I've been up to, my future plans, pictures of events. You could read about my book there. my brother's dedication, his YouTube channel. But really, that's my home base.
Mhm.
My book is sold on Amazon. It's also on Target, Walmart, Barnes and Noble,
Mhm.
many other global platforms
Mhm.
if you Google it. But I like to say that the best place to purchase both would be my website.
Mhm.
But my journals are also on Amazon, where you can read reviews. There's reviews on my website as well. But I would say my website. And then if you can't do that, Amazon is your second best bet.
Awesome. Awesome. I will put the in the show notes so that people can easily just click on it and get to you right away.
Thank
So
you.
that's awesome. Is there anything that we've left out that you want to, just tell listeners about, whether it's about this book or yourself or anything?
Just that, don't be afraid of it. I think it's important to use when teaching your intuition after you read my book, to use it like you would any other book or tool that you have in your little library at home, whether it's teaching your child how to potty train when we read our little potty training books, or nursery rhymes to teach them how to speak. Um, don't come don't come across in a negative way at all. um, Focus on the positive. It's a gift. There's nothing negative about it, even though it can help us and shield us from negativity. It is a positive gift. It's a
Mhm.
strength. It's a superpower. It's
Mhm.
magical, and it should be used as such. And um, speak to your children as best as you see fit. But I think that's the main advice that I would give, is just come across in a positive way when explaining it to your children,
Mhm.
so that they're excited to use it. And always follow up. So once you've explained, this is a good opportunity to listen to our heart's voice, and then always follow up with what happened after they listen. So then they
Mhm.
can see the direct linkage that when I do listen, wow, that's what happens. It's always a positive feeling, and it's always going to
Mhm.
result in something good. And we all want to feel good. We
Oh, yeah.
all want life to be a drop easier. We
Oh.
all want to feel our best selves.
Mhm.
And so that's what your intuition is intended to do. And it's such a waste when we aren't tapping into it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how old you are or where you live in the world, whether you're in Nebraska or whether you are a little girl in New York or a little boy in India. Your intuition is ageless,
Yeah.
it's free, it's boundless, and it's meant to be used. And the more we use it, the stronger it will become.
Yeah, it really is our truth. It comes from the heart center. It comes from, the wisdom from ages. Like you just said, it was just like it's ageless, but it's the wisdom from the past, present, and the future all in one. And we can give examples to our kids too about the times that we've listened to it. It could be as simple as like, oh, I know I'm forgetting something. Right? Like, I don't know. We've all probably had those times. I know I'm forgetting something. I know I'm forgetting something. And we don't take that moment to pause and just calm and just take a breath to allow that to come up. And if we don't allow it to come up and find it, we end up going, or at least I do, like leaving. And then I'm like, yep, I knew I forgot that. We don't
Yeah,
listen.
trust yourself, trust your instincts. It's there to guide you. And like you tapped on in the beginning of the segment, um, it's empowering to be able to look within and use independent thought.
Mhm.
That alone helps boost self-esteem in anyone. And we have to stop our youth from always seeking external societal factors and environmental situations to dictate how we feel.
Mhm.
Um, Unfortunately, it's inevitable, especially in the teenage years when children are just going through puberty and trying to find out who they are. So that is natural.
Mhm.
But isn't it so empowering to be able to handle your children and teach them the tools that you have, this gift within yourself that is always there, that you don't
Mhm.
need your friend's approval for, your teacher, or even me, and it's there to set you up for success.
Yeah.
That alone should be so empowering for anybody to hear. You don't need to be anywhere. You don't have to be at the beach to
Mhm.
hear it. You don't have to be in the designer coolest outfit that you see on TikTok to feel it. You
Mhm.
don't have, you don't have to be in the Uggs and, with the Stanley and listening to this song to feel it, to fit in. It's within. And you have the answers within yourself. You just have to learn how to use it and to listen to it. And again, like I said, when you make the connection that there's a cause and effect, an emotional action attached to the situation, there's an emotional attached to the action. Just like negatively, when we make a bad choice, we're feeling poorly about ourselves.
Yeah.
We're a child or an adult, and so my journal is good in that sense too because it's used as a preventative, but
Mhm.
also during conflict. So it's for the bully who's making fun of Susie,
Mhm.
and we all know nobody really wants to feel badly and anger,
Mhm.
deep down it's just another a hidden feeling of pain.
Mhm.
And so it's a way for children and adults and people to reflect um, on the actions that they do,
Mhm.
and that there's an emotion attached to it. And so we're reversing that. We're going to focus on the positive. How can we feel good? We're going to make better choices.
Yeah, we're gonna make better choices, and listening to our heart's voice is gonna help with that.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much today. Appreciate you coming on and having this conversation. Go out and go on Renee Greene Murphy, her website, and check out her book, Your Heart's Voice. And, if you're an educator, consider it for in the schools. If you're a parent, consider it to help your kids and even bring it to their teachers. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.